In the vast expanse of the Milky Way, there lived a species known as the Zarthians. They were small, fragile creatures with large heads and slender bodies. Their skin shimmered like polished silver under the light of their homeworld's twin suns. Despite their weak physical appearance, the Zarthians possessed incredible intelligence and had developed technology far beyond that of most other species in the galaxy. The Zarthian homeworld, Zarthos, was a paradise of gleaming cities and lush, carefully tended gardens. Massive towers of crystal and metal stretched towards the sky, their surfaces alive with pulsing lights and holographic displays. The Zarthians had long ago solved the problems of pollution, hunger, and disease. They lived in harmony with their planet and with each other, dedicating their lives to the pursuit of knowledge and the creation of beauty. However, the galaxy was not a kind place for those perceived as weak. The Galactic Confederation, a loose alliance of the most powerful species in the Milky Way, looked down upon the Zarthians. They saw only the fragile bodies and gentle nature of the Zarthians, ignoring their technological achievements and cultural richness. "They are too weak," the Crotan representative growled during a Confederation meeting. His massive, muscular form dwarfed the holographic image of a Zarthian. They would be a burden, not an asset. "But their technology," began the HFY delegate, her tentacles waving in agitation. "Means nothing without the strength to defend it," interrupted the Crotan. "In this galaxy, only the strong survive." The Confederation voted. The decision was nearly unanimous. The Zarthians' application to join the Galactic Confederation was rejected. Disappointed but undeterred, the Zarthians continued their peaceful existence. They believed that one day the galaxy would recognize the value of their contributions, but fate had other plans. From the dark spaces between the stars came the Krovax, a warrior race bent on conquest. Their massive warships, bristling with weapons, appeared at the edges of Zarthian space. The Krovax saw the beauty and advanced technology of Zarthos, and they wanted it for themselves. "Your world will be ours." The Krovax warlord's message boomed across every Zarthian communication channel. "Surrender now, and we may allow some of you to live as our slaves." Terror gripped the hearts of the Zarthians. They had no weapons, no armies. Their technology, advanced as it was, had never been designed for war. In desperation, they turned to the Galactic Confederation for help. "Please," begged Zelnar, the Zarthian ambassador, his large eyes brimming with tears as he addressed the Confederation Council. "We cannot fight the Krovax alone. We need your help. We'll give you our technology, our resources, anything you ask. Just save our people." The council chamber fell silent. The representatives of the mighty species looked at each other uneasily. Finally, the Crotan spoke. "You were deemed unworthy to join us," he said, his voice cold. "What makes you think you're worthy of our protection?" But we'll be destroyed," Zelnar cried. "Then that is the way of things," the HFY delegate said softly, her earlier support forgotten in the face of the Krovax threat. "The galaxy has no place for the weak." With heavy hearts, the Zarthians realized they were alone. As the Krovax fleet drew closer, they frantically searched for a solution. Their greatest scientists worked day and night, trying to repurpose their peaceful technology for defense. But they knew it was hopeless. They simply didn't have the time or the knowledge to create effective weapons. In a last, desperate move, the Zarthian High Council made a decision. They would send out a distress call to the entire galaxy, not just to the Confederation, but to every species capable of receiving their transmission. It was a risky move. Many dangerous races might answer, seeking to take advantage of their vulnerability. But they had no choice. As the message beamed out into the stars, carrying with it the hopes and fears of an entire civilization, the Zarthians could only wait. Would anyone answer? Would anyone in this harsh, uncaring galaxy be willing to help a species deemed too weak to survive? Little did they know that their call was about to reach a planet called Earth, home to a species that would redefine the very meaning of strength in the galaxy. Far away from Zarthos, on a small blue planet called Earth, humans were celebrating. They had just launched their first faster-than-light spaceship, the HSS Hope. It was a huge step for humanity, opening up the galaxy for exploration. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Hope, looking out at the stars. Her crew was busy checking systems and plotting courses. Excitement filled the air. They were about to make their first jump into deep space. "All systems ready, Captain," reported her first officer, Jack Thompson. Sarah nodded, a smile on her face. "Let's make history, people. Engage FTL drive." The ship hummed to life. Stars outside the view screen blurred into streaks of light. In a flash, they were gone, leaving Earth far behind. Hours later, as the crew was settling into their new routine, an alarm blared through the ship. "Captain, to the bridge." Jack's voice came over the intercom. Sarah rushed to her post. "Report." "We're picking up a signal, Captain," said Communications Officer Zopatl. It's not like anything we've seen before. Definitely not from Earth." The bridge fell silent. This was it. Proof of alien life. "Can we decode it?" Sarah asked, her heart racing. Zoe worked her console furiously. "I think so, yes. It's a distress call." The message played throughout the bridge. The crew listened in awe to the alien voice, filled with fear and desperation. As the universal translator did its work, they began to understand the dire situation of the Zarthians. "They're about to be attacked," Jack said, his face grim. "And no one's helping them." Sarah stood silent for a moment, weighing their options. They were just one ship on their first mission. They weren't prepared for first contact, let alone an alien war, but she couldn't ignore a cry for help. "Plot a course to the source of that signal," she ordered. "We're going to help." "But Captain," Jack protested, "we don't know anything about these aliens, or the ones attacking them. We could be flying into a trap." Sarah looked at her crew. She saw fear in their eyes, but also determination. "We're human," she said firmly. "When we hear a call for help, we answer. That's who we are." The Hope changed course, heading towards Zarthos. As they traveled, they intercepted more transmissions. They learned about the Galactic Confederation, the Krovax, and the perceived weakness of the Zarthians. "Can you believe it?" Zoe said, shaking her head. "They're refusing to help because these Zarthians aren't strong enough." "Strength isn't just about muscles or weapons," Sarah replied. "Sometimes it's about having the courage to help others." Days later, they arrived at Zarthos. The sight took their breath away. A beautiful planet of silver cities and green gardens, surrounded by a massive fleet of menacing warships. "The Krovax, I presume," Jack said, eyeing the enemy ships nervously. "Open a channel to the planet," Sarah ordered. Moments later, a hologram appeared on the bridge. A small, silvery being with large eyes looked at them in surprise. "I am Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth ship Hope," Sarah said. "We received your distress call. We're here to help." The Zarthian's eyes widened even further. You came to help us. But you don't even know us." Sarah smiled. "That doesn't matter. You needed help. We're here." Tears formed in the Zarthian's eyes. "Thank you," he whispered. "I am Zelnar, ambassador of the Zarthians. But forgive me, your ship is so small. How can you stand against the Krovax?" "Size isn't everything," Sarah said with a wink. "We humans have a few tricks up our sleeves. Now, let's talk strategy. We've got a planet to save." As Sarah and her crew began planning with the Zarthians, a new feeling spread across Zarthos: hope. For the first time since the Krovax arrived, the Zarthians believed they might survive. And in the great expanse of space, word began to spread. A new species had arrived on the galactic stage. They were called humans, and they didn't play by the old rules. The age of might makes right was coming to an end. A new era was about to begin. The HS Hope hung in orbit around Zarthos, its crew preparing for their first steps on an alien world. Captain Sarah Chen led a small team to the surface, including her first officer Jack Thompson, communications officer Zoe Patel, and Dr. Aisha Malik, the ship's xenobiologist. As their shuttle descended through the atmosphere, the team marveled at the alien landscape. Towers of crystal and metal sparkled in the light of twin suns. Lush gardens filled the spaces between buildings, creating a harmonious blend of nature and technology. "It's beautiful," Zoe whispered, her eyes wide with wonder. The shuttle landed in a large plaza in the heart of the Zarthian capital. A group of the small, silvery aliens waited to greet them. Ambassador Zelnar stood at the front, his large eyes filled with a mix of hope and anxiety. As the humans stepped out, a hush fell over the gathered Zarthians. Many had never seen aliens before, let alone ones who had come to help them. Sarah approached Zelnar and smiled. "Hello, Ambassador. It's good to meet you in person." Zelnar bowed slightly. "Welcome to Zarthos, Captain Chen. We cannot express our gratitude enough for your arrival." As they talked, Dr. Malik scanned the area with her tricorder. Her eyes widened as she read the results. "Captain," she said in an awed voice, "the level of technology here it's incredible. I'm picking up energy readings unlike anything we've ever seen." Zelnar noticed her interest. "Would you like a tour of our facilities? We'd be honored to show you our achievements." The human team eagerly agreed. As they walked through the city, the Zarthians explained their various technologies. They had machines that could manipulate matter at the atomic level, energy systems that drew power from subspace, and medical technology that could cure almost any disease. "This is amazing," Jack said, shaking his head in disbelief. "With technology like this, why can't you defend yourselves against the Krovaks?" Zelnar's face fell. "We are scientists and artists, not warriors. Our technology has always been focused on improving life, not taking it. We don't know how to fight." Sarah nodded thoughtfully. "Well, that's where we come in. We humans have a long history of warfare, unfortunately. But we've also learned how to defend ourselves and others." As they continued their tour, they came to a large holographic display showing the Krovaks fleet surrounding the planet. The sight was intimidating. Hundreds of massive warships poised to attack. "They've given us 3 more days to surrender," Zelnar explained, his voice trembling. "After that, they'll begin their assault." Sarah studied the display, her mind racing with potential strategies. "We need to combine our strengths," she said. "Your advanced technology with our tactical knowledge. Together, we might stand a chance." The Zarthians looked at each other, a spark of hope in their eyes. For the first time, they began to believe they might survive this threat. As the day wore on, humans and Zarthians worked together, sharing knowledge and ideas. The Zarthians were quick learners, absorbing human concepts of strategy and defense. In turn, they began to show the humans how to adapt their peaceful technology for protection. By nightfall, as the twin suns set in a spectacular display of color, a plan was beginning to take shape. It was risky and untested, but it was their best hope. As the human team prepared to return to their ship for the night, Zelnar approached Sarah. "Captain," he said softly, "I must ask, why are you doing this? Why risk your lives for a species you've just met?" Sarah looked out at the beautiful Zarthian city, then back at Zelnar. "Because it's the right thing to do," she said simply. "On Earth, we have a saying. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good people to do nothing. We couldn't stand by and watch your people suffer." Zelnar's eyes shimmered with emotion. "You humans are remarkable," he said. Perhaps there is hope for this galaxy after all." As the shuttle lifted off, carrying the humans back to their ship, a new feeling spread through the Zarthian population. It wasn't just hope now, but determination. With their new human allies, they were ready to face whatever the Krovaks might throw at them. The next 3 days would determine the fate of not just Zarthos, but potentially the entire galaxy. As the first sun of Zarthos peeked over the horizon, Captain Sarah Chen stood with her team and the Zarthian leaders in a large dome-shaped war room. Holographic displays flickered around them, showing the positions of the Krovax fleet. "We have 2 days left," Sarah said, her voice firm. "It's time to turn this peaceful world into a fortress." Ambassador Zelnar nodded nervously. "We are ready to learn, Captain. What do you need us to do?" Sarah turned to her first officer. "Jack, you're up. Show them what we've got." Jack stepped forward, activating a holographic display of Earth. "For thousands of years, humans have been fighting wars. We've learned a lot about defense. Today, we're going to teach you everything we know." The next hours were a flurry of activity. Humans and Zarthians worked side by side, combining their knowledge and skills. Zopatul worked with Zarthian communication experts, setting up an early warning system. "If we can intercept and decode their transmissions," she explained, "we'll know their plans before they act." Dr. Aisha Malik collaborated with Zarthian scientists, repurposing medical nanites for defense. "These little guys can repair damage almost instantly," she said, showing a magnified view of the nanites. "We can use them to protect our ships and buildings." Meanwhile, Jack was teaching Zarthian engineers about human weapon systems. "The key is layers," he explained. "Shields, point defense systems, long-range missiles. We want to hit them before they get close, and have backup plans for when they do." The Zarthians, with their quick minds and advanced technology, absorbed the lessons rapidly. Soon, they were suggesting improvements that even the humans hadn't thought of. "What if we use our matter manipulators to create physical shields?" one Zarthian scientist suggested. "We could form barriers of super-dense matter in space." Sarah's eyes lit up. "That's brilliant. We could create a maze they'd have to navigate, slowing them down and breaking up their formation." As the day wore on, the plan took shape. The peaceful gardens of Zarthos were transforming. Beautiful crystal towers now housed powerful energy weapons. Serene ponds became launch bays for swarms of defensive drones. But it wasn't just about defense. Sarah knew they needed a way to strike back. "We need to take out their command ship," she said, pointing to the largest Krovax vessel on the display. "If we can do that, we might be able to end this without a full-scale battle." Zelnar looked worried. "But how? Their ships are so much larger and more powerful than anything we have." Sarah smiled. "Size isn't everything. We humans have a saying: the bigger they are, the harder they fall. We're going to use their size against them." She outlined a daring plan. A small, fast ship, enhanced with Zarthian technology, would slip past the Krovax defenses. It would carry a special payload, a device that would turn the Krovax's own weapons against them. As night fell, the transformation of Zarthos was well underway. The once peaceful planet now bristled with defenses, both visible and hidden. But more importantly, its people had changed. The Zarthians stood taller, their eyes shining with newfound confidence. Zelnar approached Sarah as she was reviewing final preparations. "Captain," he said, his voice filled with emotion, "you and your crew have given us something we never had before. Not just the means to fight, but the will to stand up for ourselves." Sarah put a hand on his shoulder. "You always had it in you, Zelnar. Sometimes it just takes a friend to help you see your own strength." As the second sun set, casting a purple glow over the city, Sarah looked out at the sky. Somewhere up there, the Krovax were preparing for what they thought would be an easy conquest. They had no idea what was waiting for them. "Get some rest, everyone," Sarah announced to the tired but determined faces around her. "Tomorrow, we make our final preparations. The day after that, we show the galaxy that it's not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog." As the war room emptied, a sense of anticipation filled the air. In just over 24 hours, the fate of Zarthos, and perhaps the entire galaxy, would be decided. The Zarthians, with their human allies, were ready to make their stand. The day of reckoning had arrived. As the twin suns of Zarthos rose, casting an eerie red glow across the planet, the Krovax fleet began to move. Hundreds of massive warships descended towards the planet, their weapons primed and ready. In the Zarthian command center, Captain Sarah Chen stood with Ambassador Zelnar, watching the approaching armada on a giant holographic display. Despite the tense atmosphere, Sarah's face showed determination rather than fear. "This is it," she said, her voice steady. "All units, prepare for engagement. Remember your training. We can do this." As the Krovax ships entered the upper atmosphere, they were met with an unexpected sight. The once peaceful planet now bristled with defenses. Energy shields shimmered into existence, covering key areas. Swarms of small, agile drones rose to meet the invaders. The Krovax commander's voice boomed across all frequencies. "Pitiful Zarthians, your feeble defenses cannot save you. Surrender now, or be destroyed." Sarah grabbed a communicator. "This is Captain Chen of Earth. The Zarthians are under our protection. Leave now, or face the consequences." There was a moment of stunned silence from the Krovax. Then, with a roar of rage, they opened fire. The battle for Zarthos had begun. The first wave of Krovax ships flew into a trap. As they approached, massive walls of super-dense matter materialized in space, created by the Zarthians' matter manipulators. Ships crashed into the invisible barriers, their formations breaking apart in confusion. "Now," Sarah ordered. At her command, hidden weapon emplacements all over the planet's surface came to life. Beams of energy lanced upward, striking the disoriented Krovax ships. Several exploded in brilliant flashes of light. But the Krovax were not easily defeated. They regrouped quickly, adapting to the unexpected resistance. Their return fire was devastating, punching holes through the Zarthian shields and striking the planet's surface. "Damage report," Sarah called out. Zelnar studied a display, his silver face creased with worry. "Several cities have been hit, but the nanite repair systems are working. The damage is being contained." As the battle raged on, it became clear that the defenders were holding their own. The Zarthian drones, piloted by operators safe underground, darted between the massive Krovax ships, causing confusion and damage. Enhanced with human tactical programs, they were unpredictable and deadly. But the tide truly turned when Sarah's special plan came into play. A small, sleek ship, piloted by Jack Thompson, slipped past the Krovax defenses. It looked insignificant next to the giant warships, barely drawing any attention. "I'm in position, Captain." Jack's voice crackled over the comm. "Ready to deploy on your mark." Sarah took a deep breath. "Do it." Jack's ship released its payload, a device that the humans and Zarthians had worked on together. It latched onto the hull of the Krovax flagship and activated. Suddenly, the massive ship's weapons turned inward. It began firing on its own fleet, causing chaos and destruction in the Krovax ranks. "What's happening?" the Krovax commander bellowed, his voice filled with panic. "That's a little trick we like to call hacking," Sarah replied, a grim smile on her face. "Your weapons are now under our control. Stand down, or watch your own fleet tear itself apart." The battle wasn't over yet. Many Krovax ships continued to fight, refusing to believe they could be defeated by those they had considered weak. But with their command structure in disarray and their flagship turned against them, their attacks became disorganized and ineffective. As the hours passed, more and more Krovax ships either retreated or surrendered. The skies above Zarthos, filled with fire and destruction, slowly began to clear. Finally, as the twin suns began to set, the last Krovax ship fled the system. A cheer went up from the command center, spreading across the planet as the news traveled. Zelnar turned to Sarah, his large eyes brimming with tears. We did it. We actually won." Sarah nodded, exhaustion and relief clear on her face. "We did. Zarthos is safe." As night fell on the battle-scared but unbroken planet, humans and Zarthians celebrated together. They had faced impossible odds and emerged victorious. But more than that, they had forged a bond that would change the course of galactic history. The battle for Zarthos was over, but the story of humanity's impact on the galaxy was just beginning. The news of the Zarthian victory spread across the galaxy like wildfire. In the days following the battle, every alien communication channel buzzed with the incredible story. A small, peaceful race, aided by an unknown species called humans, had defeated the mighty Krovax fleet. On the planet Thor, home of the Galactic Confederation, the council chambers were in uproar. Representatives from various species argued loudly, their voices echoing off the high ceilings. "Impossible," roared the Crotan representative, his massive fists pounding on the table. "The Zarthians were too weak to fight. And who are these? Humans." The Xin Exe delegate waved her tentacles excitedly. "Our sources say the humans have only recently developed faster-than-light travel. They're newcomers to the galactic stage." Meanwhile, on Zarthos, Captain Sarah Chen and her crew were preparing to leave. The planet was still recovering from the battle, but already the signs of renewal were everywhere. Zarthian technology, combined with human ingenuity, was rapidly repairing the damage. Ambassador Zelnar approached Sarah as she supervised the loading of supplies onto the HSS Hope. "Captain," he said, his silver skin gleaming in the sunlight, "we can never thank you enough for what you've done." Sarah smiled warmly. "It was our honor, Zelnar. I'm just glad we could help." Zelnar's large eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of emotion among his people. "You've done more than help. You've changed everything. Already, we're receiving messages from other species who were deemed too weak by the Confederation. They're asking for Earth's protection." Sarah's eyebrows rose in surprise. "Really? That's unexpected." As if on cue, Jack Thompson jogged up to them, a datapad in his hand. "Captain, you need to see this. We're getting signals from all over the sector. Seems like every underdog in the galaxy wants to be our friend." Sarah took the pad, scrolling through the messages with a mix of amazement and concern. "This is big," she muttered. "Much bigger than we anticipated." Back on Xor, the Galactic Confederation was facing a crisis. More and more of the so-called weak species were aligning themselves with Earth, forming a new alliance that threatened to rival the Confederation itself. The Crotan representative's voice boomed through the council chambers. "We must crush these humans before they grow too powerful. They're upsetting the natural order." But the Xin Exe delegate disagreed. "Perhaps it is our understanding of natural order that needs to change. These humans have shown us a new way." As the debate raged on, a small ship entered the Xor system. It carried Ambassador Zelnar and a special envoy from Earth, Dr. Aisha Malik. When they entered the council chambers, a hush fell over the assembled representatives. Many had never seen a Zarthian in person, and none had seen a human before. Zelnar stepped forward, his voice clear and confident. "Esteemed members of the Confederation, we come before you today not as supplicants, but as equals. The recent events have shown that your measure of strength is flawed." Dr. Malik continued, her dark eyes scanning the room. "Strength isn't just about physical power or advanced weapons. It's about courage, innovation, and the will to stand up for what's right. Earth is ready to share our unique perspective with the galaxy." The council erupted into chaos again. Some representatives shouted in anger, others in support. But underneath it all was a current of fear. Fear of change, fear of the unknown. As Zelnar and Dr. Malik stood firm before the storm of reactions, a message arrived from Earth. Sarah Chen, now promoted to Admiral, appeared on the main screen. "Members of the Galactic Confederation," she said, her voice calm but authoritative. "Earth extends an invitation to all species, strong and weak alike. Let us build a new future together, based on mutual respect and cooperation." Her word hung in the air, heavy with possibility. The galaxy stood at a crossroads. The age of might makes right was ending. A new era was dawning, shaped by the unexpected arrival of humanity. In the years to come, the galaxy would never be the same. And it all started with a distress call, answered by a small ship from a planet called Earth. 5 years had passed since the Battle of Zarthos. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have imagined. Earth, once an unknown backwater planet, was now at the center of a new galactic order. On a bright morning, Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of Harmony Station, a massive space structure orbiting Zarthos. The station was a marvel of human and Zarthian engineering, a symbol of their enduring alliance. Sarah watched as ships from dozens of different species docked at the station. Each vessel represented a member of the new Galactic Cooperative, an organization founded on principles of mutual respect and shared strength. Ambassador Zelnar floated up beside her, his hover chair humming softly. "Quite a sight, isn't it, old friend?" he said, his silver skin shimmering in the starlight. Sarah nodded, a smile on her face. "Sometimes I still can't believe how far we've come." Their conversation was interrupted by a young human ensign. "Admiral, Ambassador, the summit is about to begin." They made their way to the grand meeting hall. Representatives from over 100 species filled the room, their chatter a mix of voices and translator devices. At the center was a circular table where the leaders of the cooperative sat. As Sarah and Zelnar took their seats, a hush fell over the crowd. Sarah stood to address the gathering. "Friends, allies, welcome to the 5th annual summit of the Galactic Cooperative," she began. 5 years ago, many thought this day impossible. The galaxy was divided, ruled by fear and the idea that might makes right. She paused, her eyes scanning the diverse faces before her. "But we proved them wrong. Together, we've built something greater than any one species could achieve alone." The room erupted in applause. Sarah waited for it to die down before continuing. "Today, we face new challenges. The former Galactic Confederation has become increasingly hostile. They see our unity as a threat to their power." Murmurs of concern rippled through the crowd. The Crotan Empire, once the dominant force in the Confederation, had been rattling its sabers lately. Zelnar spoke up, his voice calm but firm. "We must remember the lessons of Zarthos. Strength comes in many forms. Our diversity is our greatest asset." A holographic display flickered to life, showing the cooperative's achievements. New technologies developed through collaboration. Peaceful resolutions to age-old conflicts. Thriving trade routes between once isolated worlds. "But our work is not done," Sarah continued. "There are still species suffering under oppressive regimes, planets ravaged by war and exploitation. We have a responsibility to help." The next hours were filled with passionate debate and discussion. Plans were made, resources allocated. The cooperative was expanding its humanitarian efforts, while also bolstering its defenses. As the summit drew to a close, a young Kin Xi representative approached Sarah. "Admiral," she said, her tentacles twitching nervously, "do you really think we can change the entire galaxy?" Sarah smiled warmly. "We already have. Look around you. 5 years ago, half the species in this room wouldn't even talk to each other. Now we're working together, learning from each other. That's how we'll face whatever comes next." Later that evening, Sarah stood again on the observation deck. The station was quieter now, most delegates having retired for the night. She watched as a group of ships departed, their engines flaring bright against the darkness of space. Zelnar joined her, a data pad in his hand. "The Crotan Empire is massing ships near our border," he said softly. "They might be planning something." Sarah nodded, her face determined. "Then we'll be ready. Not just with ships and weapons, but with allies who believe in each other. That's a force no empire can match." As they stood there, watching the stars, both felt a sense of hope. The road ahead would not be easy. There would be conflicts, setbacks, and hard choices to make, but they had come so far already. A new era had dawned in the galaxy. an era where cooperation trumped conquest, where diversity was celebrated, not feared. And at the heart of it all was a simple idea, brought to the stars by a species from a small blue planet: that the true measure of strength lies not in domination, but in the courage to extend a helping hand to those in need. The story of humanity's impact on the galaxy was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning.